Hello, Shavonne Reed here with Access to Advocacy. I am the chair of the Dunwoody Perimeter Chamber and so glad that you decided to tune in today. Our mission is to empower and inspire prosperity for all. And today we have Jim Riticher here, who's up for Dunwoody Council. Hi, Jim. How are you today?
Hi, Shavonne. I'm doing great. Thanks
Awesome.
for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here. So you've been actually part of the council for quite some time now. What has inspired you to continue to want to be in that role?
Well, there is a lot. There are a lot of moving parts to local government, and Lynn's been on council longer than I, and John Hennigan has been on since the beginning.
Mhm.
But he might, depending on what happens with the charter review, John might be term limited out. I want to serve one more term because I think you need some folks with experience on council. Again, there's a lot of moving parts. I'm past the learning curve and, have the history, and that's a useful thing to have on council. So
Mhm.
like I say, I want to serve one more term. Whether our term limits get put in place or not, should I prevail, this will be my last term.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure you'll do well. So now tell us about some of the policies that are important to you.
Well, I'm all about the basics of local government.
Mhm.
The bottom line is what comes first is public safety. I think one of the big reasons Dunwoody became a city is because DeKalb County was giving us terrible police coverage, and we
Mm.
have developed a great police force that's effective and respectful to all our citizens, and that's a hugely important thing for our community. So I'm all about public safety. If you talk the four P's in the stack, followed by public works. For 25 years prior to cityhood, which was 13 years ago,
Mhm.
we were neglected as could be by DeKalb County. There weren't roads getting repaved. There weren't hardly any intersection improvements. You didn't, the stormwater system was crumbling out there. Sinkholes would appear out of nowhere because
Mm.
nobody was sticking to their knitting and watching these things. So we have done a lot of catching up on that in the last 13 years. We've repaved about 2/3 of our neighborhood streets. We've got
Mhm.
about a third left to go, and we owe those folks who haven't had a repaving their repaving, and somebody's got to, keep everybody's nose to the grindstone on those basics. So that's part of what I'm about there. And then parks. Again, we had very little in the way of parks in Dunwoody. We did get the existing parkland
Mhm.
sort of as from the legislature. They kind of forced DeKalb to transfer the existing parks in our footprint to us. So we had some land, but there really wasn't much there. A few playgrounds, um, the dog park, and the skate park, and that was about it. Well, we have come two quantum leaps in the last 13 years, and I'm proud to have been a part of that. And we've got a lot of good things coming. Our next phase is the next big project in parks that I see getting built will be Perimeter Center East, which we hope to build in 2020, but what got in the way of that. So I'm hopeful it'll get built out in 2022. And then after that, we've got the new park on Roberts, the old Austin site. And then following that, the new Vermac Park, which we went ahead and picked up the land for because land is in very short supply in Dunwoody. And that's a once in a lifetime opportunity to be able to buy a chunk of property like that. So I think, again, I'm proud that we took advantage of the opportunity and picked up that land for a future park.
I am definitely glad too. I pass by that park every day on Roberts Drive, and it's like seeing the transition over time. The past few months has just been incredible. The new fences are there. First, the land was like, clay colored. Now the grass is grown in. So it's really a nice, amazing sight to see. And it was interesting that you brought up the pavement because my daughter was like this morning when I was dropping off during carpool, she goes, "Well, Mom, are they ever going to be done with these streets?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think they're working on it, honey."
Well,
So
it's like anything else. It takes time, and if you dig around in the public works part of the city website, there's a plan, and it's always been driven by data. As I tell people, I got elected to council so I could get my road repaved. It only took 5 or 6 years, and that's because we go by the numbers.
Mhm.
Council member pull means nothing, which is as it should be. And we do these very high tech laser truck surveys of the roads, that grades, all the roads, and we go by the book on repaving. So, worst come first.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to all the parks, even the one on Vermac. It's like, oh wow, they're putting a park there. We saw the sign today, so it was pretty interesting. Now, tell us, what do you think are some of the opportunities for growth in Dunwoody?
Well, right now there are a lot of really interesting things happening. Of course, we've got the new village overlay fully in place now, and there's a lot of things happening at the village. We're having a ribbon cutting for the what are they calling it? The bar inn,
Mm-hmm.
at Dunwoody Village, which is the first of the new restaurants around the courtyard in Dunwoody Village proper.
Mm-hmm.
That courtyard is going to get a big refurb. Regency is fully on board with a bunch of neat projects that they are working on. The Shops of Dunwoody folks have got some things in the works. Dunwoody Village is, with that overlay in place, the landowners have figured out, wait a minute, we should be doing something here, and they're starting to do some things. So that's working as it should work. And, there's a reason we hired the best city planner in the North Metro area, and his plan has worked before, and I think it's going to work fine here. When you get into Perimeter Center, of course, the decline in office usage due to COVID is still being figured out. People are going to have to get back into the office, but I think from a realistic standpoint, it's not going to be at the level it was prior. But you've still got to have face-to-face. I've talked to a number of folks, and there's still a need for that face-to-face interaction, and people are going to have to, be back in the office at some point. And so what's happening in Perimeter right now? Well, you've got a potential with the Gold Kiss property, with the campus. I can't remember the 3 digits, but the campus project at the new at the old Gold Kiss site, that's a really interesting project. Of course, the big one is that High Street is finally under construction. I mean, now I have not seen a D9 Caterpillar dozer pushing dirt around yet. That's going to be where the rubber meets, really where the steel meets the dirt. But they have pulled a 7-figure permit. So they are serious. I mean, they are about to start pushing dirt around any minute now.
Okay.
And that project, it's got a big, lawn area and grade level retail and restaurants, and then, all the apartments that they were zoned for. And again, although that zoning was prior to cityhood, for those who don't know, that thing was zoned, 15 plus or minus years ago by DeKalb County, and it's just now getting under construction. But it's going to have a major impact on Perimeter Center. So that's happening. We've got the new Publix center that is moving along nicely. It's going to have several restaurants. We just had a ribbon cutting for Red Pepper Taqueria, which that's a great space. Everybody should go try those guys out. That they have wonderful outside seating. The inside is great. Go try those guys out. I think they're going to be a lovely addition to the area, and there's just lots of things percolating as we come out of COVID that in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I saw the Lazy Dog coming, I got really excited, and just to hear that the High Street is actually about to break ground and like really start building is like super excited, because everybody's been hearing High Street, High Street, High Street, right? So tell me, how would you like to better engage with the local businesses in the community?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, from my perspective, I see our part as putting in place the framework, and then the businesses make things happen. It's the entrepreneurs of America that make good things happen, not government officials. So I'm all about just helping the entrepreneurs however I can. It's doing things like, we've done these entertainment districts. So that, if you want to carry an adult beverage out of business A down, to 200 feet to business B where your friends are hanging out, hey, you can do that now in the village. And we're also doing that around in various places around Perimeter Center.
Mhm.
That's one way. Another thing that I initiated, we just did a bunch of, minor code changes. Well, one of them was to make it easier for office buildings to lease out their space. We had what turned out to be a non-complying business. It was a high-end jewelry merchant who had moved into an office building. Well, it was old DeKalb O&I zoning. It was very restrictive. You couldn't have retail in an office building. Well, this is a guy that, if he sees half a dozen customers face to face, maybe it's a dozen customers in a week. It's not like a high traffic retail business. There's a model for that throughout the city where that kind of a business is in an office space. You had one of the big merchants who was on the radio for years used to talk about being in, what's the big office building in Buckhead? I'm drawing a blank now, but
the green with the green lights. It's
with the
called
green lights,
Yeah.
Right. So this is that sort of thing, so we tweaked our zoning so you can have that sort of a low traffic retail business in the first level of an office building. And that, in a time when it's hard to lease office buildings, we need to make it easier for our office building owners to lease their property to folks who can use it effectively. And this is, so that's the sort of thing. That's how I want to help and engage with the business communities, make it easier for them to do business. And that's what that was all about.
Okay, well, I'm all for it. So this was really awesome. I thank you for taking the time to sit with me today and share your views and your viewpoints on things with the community. This is what we're all about. So trying to make sure that we have access to this advocacy. And if anyone would like to get in touch with you, do you have a website you'd like to send them to?
Riticher.com is my campaign website. And of course, I'm jim.riticher at dunwoodyga.gov.
All right. Well, thank you again so much. And thank you guys for tuning in. Have
Thanks
an awesome
so much for having me.
Okay. See you next time.